It's almost 9 o'clock. Let us start on time. So today in this exam, one of the things which comes, or I'll say which can come, is that this small case study out here. So let me talk about this case study. So this case study is a case study of a shipping service, or I'll say a transport service rather than a shipping service, a transport service, right? So let's look at this, what this thing says here. So you have so this is an example wherein there is a application which is currently running offline and that has to be migrated to Azure, right? So let's look at the application structure first. So the application says, the question says here, the virtual machine runs, so there is a virtual machine which runs BizTalk Server 2016. So let's look at the let's look at this question out here. So yeah, it is very similar to MQ. So this one here, so one is, this is what this question says. So we have a BizTalk server. Now people who are new to BizTalk is nothing but, it helps you to connect two applications, data formats of two applications. For example, you have an app application, an application sends a CSV, another application out there is who takes a, let's say, XML file. So BizTalk can go and do all that conversion for you and so on, right? So that was BizTalk does. So that means that this BizTalk must be taking so I can see the questions out there. Is it like a logic app? No. Yes, like a logic app, but much more advanced. So in those good old days of 2004 and 5 or 2000, right, BizTalk was the only way to do the integration. But but when WCF came into picture, WCF started all that web API and XML. So then BizTalk's importance, or HIS, overall HIS importance, started going down, right? But yes, still a lot of applications and workflows are created in BizTalk, right? Yeah, more than a message broker, I will say that it will connect to applications. So message broker, yes, okay, that's a good name, message broker. So the VM runs the following software: Ocean Transport. So this has some application out here which is an ocean transport application, some application out there, right? So the VM runs and validates the container information, including container contents and arrival notices. So that means there is some data coming out here. This data is container contents. So there are containers data, there are arrival data, and probably this BizTalk does a lot of massaging of the data and so on, right? So and this. Now this BizTalk has certain things. It actually validates for inland transport. It has a container API and it has a location API and a shipping API, right? So that means we have on container, we have the workflow gathers and validates. So there is a workflow, fine. There is a workflow, right? And which is an inland transport. Guys, remember, in the exam, please try to first thing prepare for the exam. Don't think that it is easy. You won't even know that when the complete time has finished, right? So you can see here, even for me to read and look at it again, it takes so much time, right? So I would say that please go through all the videos right from the start, and the explanations I've given, the demonstrations I've shown, right? So this is the workflow here, inland transport. So which gathers and validates truck information, right? The VM supports the following REST API. So inside the VM only, inside this machine itself, there are other applications also which is hosted. So that means there is one machine which is doing everything. So one is, it has a container API, fine. So there is a container API. This does certain things. A location API must be for the location of the containers. So there are 2-3 APIs internally, and shipping REST API. So again, there is some shipping API. I'm sorry for my handwriting. Shipping API, right? And there is a shipping data which is in MongoDB, right? Shipping, so that means that this is connecting somewhere with MongoDB for a lot of data, right? Good. There is a shipping website. Okay, so there is a website somewhere. I don't know. It is possibly, as he has said that it is only one Windows Server 2000 virtual machine. So must be it is over here. There is a website also. This website makes a call probably to these APIs. So the end user must be hitting this website, and the website must be making an internal call. So I feel that all of this, is into one big box out here. And I don't know, even this MongoDB can be out here. Who knows, right? So there is a BizTalk server which has a workflow, right? And it does all this inland transfer. So it does some integration. So this BizTalk server gathers and validates container information, right? So there is a BizTalk server, there is a workflow, there are 3 APIs. So let me write down. There is a BizTalk server with some business rules out here. There is a workflow of inland transport. There are 3 API, right? The content API, location API. Database is MongoDB, right? And there is a website also, which makes call to these 3 APIs probably, right? So that's what it is, right? So now let us look at the question. So now remember, this is a case study. So normally you will get such kind of case study. If you remember in one of the previous sessions, we looked at such case study of image kind of resizing, right? So now let's look at, what. So I think the other thing they would propose is a solution. So you can see here, first thing, let's go through this as well. So requirements, okay. I'm sorry guys, I know that today I'll force you to read a lot of those, my PPTs, but let's read it. So what now, remember we have okay, so looks like this is a proposed solution. Okay, so there is a proposed solution. Okay, the proposed solution is in this PPT only. First, let me take this PPT. So there is a proposed solution. The on-premise application must be moved to Azure. Fine. The VM has been migrated to new D16 V3 VM. Now remember, we have lots of different types of VM sizes. So this is one of the size D16. So if you remember, we have the burst VMs, we have the A category, we have the D category, and so on, right? By using Azure Site Recovery, and must remain running in the Azure to complete the BizTalk component integration. So that means the BizTalk component, they are migrating assets. Okay, so the BizTalk component they wanted, fine. So you created a D16 V3 Azure virtual machine to host BizTalk. Okay, and the architecture diagram for the proposed solution is as below. Okay, so let's look at the architecture diagram. I think in one of the slides I should have the architecture diagram. So that looks to be the architecture diagram, and let's look at. Remember guys, there are lots of dumps online. A lot of answers are also wrong online. So, so be very clear about, if you're reading through the dumps, you should know that the answers are right or not, right? And remember, always hunt for knowledge. So rather than just going through the dumps, don't just so I'll explain you everything, but don't just go and do tick there. Read the question again. It's possible that sometimes the answers are tweaked. So you can see here that the D series machine has the BizTalk, fine. And if you remember, we had a workflow. Now in Azure, there are 2 things. One is we have function apps, and one is we have logic apps. These logic apps are meant for workflow, right? So you can see here that workflow, he has migrated to a logic app. Okay, makes sense. And then we had 3 API, right? So one is the shipping REST API, one is the location API, one is the container API, right? And this REST API calls, means the data calls of this logic app is made through the function app. Okay, and the shipping data, it looks to be that migrated towards Azure tables. Now the icon there tells me it's an Azure table. Looks like, I'm not sure, but remember that if they are having MongoDB as the database, they can migrate to Azure tables as well, or else they can migrate to MongoDB as well, because MongoDB as a service is available, right? And remember, there was a shipping website. So the shipping website hits the REST API. The REST API hits the shipping data. There are other APIs like this, right? So this is good. Looks to be that everything looks fine from the architecture perspective, right? We don't have to go into the requirement now saying that, okay, why isn't this shipping API making a call here? Don't go in that too much, right? But let's look at the other requirements. So they have some requirement out here. First, the shipping logic app must meet the following service. So support inland transport by using logic app, okay. Support industry protocol X12, fine, that is something. Secure the whole website by using the Azure virtual network, okay. maintain on-premise connectivity to legacy applications and final BizTalk migration. So we also want that, it should be able to connect to the legacy application if needed. Okay. Implement secure function endpoints by using app security and Active Directory, right? The REST API supports this. So again, secure VNet, allow deployment or testing with Azure, and this and this and this. Data migration from on-premise or Azure must minimize the cost, right? So this is the MongoDB thing he's talking about, right? Use Azure Content Delivery Network. Now, guys, remember, I came to this question here. I took this question, because of this thing. If you remember in the previous class, I talked about CDN. So in CDN, what happens? You can go ahead and you can create 2-3 replicas of your website, and those websites are then available to the nearest point. So for example, in Azure CDN, what happens? Let us say you have a website out here, and you say that this website has CDN enabled. So what he will do is he'll create one replica in India, must be. Let's say this is hosted in US. He will create one replica, must be in US or somewhere, let's say Europe, right? So what happens when an Indian user logs in, he will actually log into the Indian website, and that would be much faster as compared to logging into the US website. And this replication between this is taken care. So these are CDNs, right? Okay. So use Azure CDN and ensure maximum performance of dynamic content while minimizing latency, right? So guys, let us take the first question, which is around CDN. Now remember, when they give a case study, there are lots of questions out there, but this, I read out this so much, one is that I will not read this question again. In the next time, whenever I have a question, I will say, that was a case study we talked about, right? But here specifically, there is a question which is repeated and which focuses on the Azure CDN part. So in this Azure CDN, what they want is their shipping website. Remember, there was a shipping website. The shipping website, where is the architecture? In this architecture, we had this shipping website, and this shipping website, they want to create CDN, and that CDN should support 2 primary things. That CDN should support 2. One is that maximize performance, fine. That is all the customer's goal. Second, for dynamic content. So that means that, remember that we are hitting the API at the back end. So that means, the content should be dynamic, right? That's one more. And minimizing latency as well as cost should be low, right? So now let's look at the question, right? So let me go back here. So remember, guys, you have to just remember now the question which is revolving around CDN. Other parts are there, I've explained it, right? So let's look at the question. This is the question on CDN, right? And CDN demo I have already done in the previous class, so I will not do it now, right? So we need to configure this Azure CDN for the shipping website. So what should we choose out here, right? So first thing, remember, he was talking about dynamic. Or discard, right? So very quickly. So first thing, if you see out here, he's talking about dynamic. He talked about low cost and performance should be good, right? So now remember, whenever you are configuring a CDN, let me go and show you. If you go out here and if you remember when we configured, it's very difficult. I think I'm not sure if, because for a CDN, so let me go to Azure out here. I have to actually create a website, right? So what I will do is, guys, very quickly, let me create an app service. Remember, an app service helps you to host web applications, and you can only apply CDN when you have a web application. So let me show those menus out there. So I'm going to go and create a web app out here. So let me create a resource group. People who have come new to Azure today, please go and watch all our Azure series. Please go and watch AZ900. I will not talk about all this things what I'm doing out here, right? So let's say I create a website out here. Let's say QuestPond123. Let's say it's a .NET application. Let's keep it on Windows for now. Central US and whatever, right? And I just say review and this and this. So that will create my website. And inside this website, once this web app is created, what we do out here is we go to the networking tab and we enable CDN. Now, when we go to enable CDN, right? So when we go to enable CDN, we find this three things out there, right? So let me show you. So guys, any question on the case study? I hope that the case study is clear. Must be, in case you are getting confused, just remember two, three things. One is we have a BizTalk server, we have a workflow, we have three services, we have a MongoDB database, and we have a website. And now at this moment, this question is revolving around the website part, specifically around CDN, right? So remember, a case study will be given. There will be 4 or 5 questions around the case study. So the application is getting created. Give it 2 minutes. Okay, there it is. Resource created. Very good. So let me go out here and let me go to again, in case you are getting confused, right? If you, let's say that you don't know where the CDN is, just type CDN. You can see that it comes to networking. I'll go to networking tab out here, and you can see lots of things. Azure front door with web application firewall. Awesome. This is again a very good service. So we'll talk about this. Guys, just remind me about Azure front door, because sometimes, you know, this question of CDN, you can get confused with front door as well. But for now, you can see configure CDN for your application. Now, when you go to configure CDN out here, you will see in the pricing tier, that's what this question is talking about. In the pricing tier, you can choose Microsoft, you can choose Verizon, you can choose Akamai, right? And then one is that you will choose, and second, so if let's go to the full view, full pricing tier. So here it is. So you can see here the page out there. So one is Microsoft, one is Verizon, and one is Akamai, right? Now remember that this CDN, Content Delivery Network, is not something which is related or created by Microsoft. It's a general thing. It was there for past 20 years. You know, the CDN was always there in some different format. Verizon and Akamai are very big players in CDN. So what Microsoft also has done, that they didn't have their own CDN, so they are given this as a service till then, right? So you can see he is giving you choices of Verizon and Akamai, and as well as standard Microsoft. Now, the first thing, if you remember in the question, was about dynamic delivery. And you can see here, the standard Microsoft does not have dynamic delivery. Dynamic delivery. Dynamic delivery means what? You know, so very quickly, I'll go and hit this page out here, something called as dynamic acceleration, or I can just go and hit this one. All these links are into PPT. Guys, remember, a concept is very important. Giving answers are easy, right? So here, if you see, you can see all the three providers. Azure CDN, which is a standard one, which comes from Microsoft. And then you have Azure CDN, which comes from Akamai. And then we have, oh, they didn't talk about, where is this? No, nothing about Verizon. Okay, fine. So that, okay, there it is, Verizon. I'm so sorry. Verizon also, right? And you can see some differences out here. Now, okay. First thing, there is something called a general web delivery. This general web delivery means static content, right? And there's the other thing, which is our dynamic site acceleration. This is where dynamic content comes into picture, right? So first thing, dynamic content is available only in Verizon and Akamai. If you want to do dynamic content service by Microsoft, you have to go and subscribe to Azure Front Door service. The dynamic content site acceleration is provided by Azure Front Door service. So coming back to that question, so first thing, he has not given Verizon. If Verizon was given here, my thought process would be different, right? So first point out here, there is no Verizon. And if I want to do via Microsoft, then directly it is not possible, right? So my answer here would be that yes, first thing, I would select, and remember, our cost should be low. Cost should be low, right? So I would select standard, I would select Akamai, and then in that Akamai, I will select dynamic site acceleration. Remember, whenever you select Akamai also, you can't just select static, huh? Because he has mentioned in the case study. So here, if you go now back, let's say I select, you know, they are not, I don't know why he has given, I think that's a standard, premium Verizon, standard Akamai. Yeah. If you know Verizon was there, I would have been confused actually, because both the costs are same. Okay. So there it is. This is standard Akamai, which I'm selecting out here, right? So that's the answer for it. And dynamic site acceleration is also, should be selected. Now I think over here the dynamic site acceleration is selected by default. So I'm not sure why that option is out there, but dynamic site acceleration is there in standard Akamai by default. This option I'm not really aware of, right? Now let us also talk about this dynamic site acceleration. If you go here to dynamic site acceleration, the question which can come to your mind is, why are we talking about dynamic site acceleration when already we have CDN? Now remember, you already have CDN, but CDN again needs something more on it, right? So let me talk about it. So think about it. So let us say you have a website, you have created CDNs. So let us say I'm in India out here, right? There is a CDN which is created, let us say, somewhere, assume, it's created somewhere in Asia, must be, let's say, Sri Lanka. Let's say CDN is in Sri Lanka. Assume, I know that India has Bangalore and Pune, a lot of data centers, right? And let us say there's a CDN which is in US. So what happens is I enable CDN out here, he replicates here, he replicates here, right? Now I'm in India, right? And I say that I want to go ahead and I want to go and visit this website, right? So what I do is that I go to the nearest CDN. So the nearest CDN is this, right? But it is very much possible. Let us say an Indian CDN comes up, then there is no point for me to go here. I should actually go here. Right? So on this CDN, this whole CDN becomes like a network for Azure, which they call it as a wide area network, their own network, right? So what this dynamic site acceleration does is, when you say that dynamic site acceleration, then there are a couple of things it will do. First thing, it will do route optimization. You can go and read all the documentation. Today I'm trying to just make it 5-10 minutes out here. Dynamic route acceleration, which is nothing but what is that name? I forgot. The Anycast, right? This dynamic site acceleration, nothing but an Anycast. What does the Anycast do? It says that which is the nearest route I have, right? So when you say DSA optimization, dynamic site acceleration, you should have route optimization, right? You should have TCP optimization as well, right? So TCP optimization means some of the data, if it is nearby, we can send it via TCP. Let's say that you have a database, then can we just fall to TCP back, right? Compression also, and so on, right? Now this one is provided in Akamai by default, right? If you want to go through Microsoft, if you think like, no, like I want to use Microsoft services, then this is performed by using, where is the Microsoft thing? That's performed by using, so Azure front door service. This Azure front door service helps you to do all that things, which the Akamai service helps you to do. But remember that you have to buy 2 times out here. One is you have to buy the Azure CDN, and then you have to buy this, right? So again, here also we have routing, we have all those things, which are discussed over there, security, and so on, right? So what this this front door service does is, it does the same thing. The front door service sits on the top of, so the front door service is somewhere out here, and it says that, okay, like somebody first comes and hits the front door service, says, okay, you are from India, you go here. So he finds the nearest route. He also looks into failover. Remember, a front door service is not like elasticity. Don't think it like elasticity. Elasticity is 1 point. Traffic controlling is 1 point. The load balance is one more thing. But this one specifically works with CDNs. This does not work with virtual machines directly. This does not work with virtual machine. It works with CDNs. Please note, right? So here, this front door service, what it will do is, it will find you the nearest route. If this link goes down, then the nearest is Sri Lanka. He will go to Sri Lanka. So all that things is done by this Microsoft front door, right? So that's the answer. So any questions here? I hope that this question is clear. The case study is clear. If you get over here Verizon, I would suggest, in case in your exam, if you get Verizon, because some of my students attended the exam and they said that, sir, we got Verizon. So if you got Verizon, select Akamai, because Verizon is costly than Akamai. Verizon has more services, right? So the answer will be still standard Akamai and this. And remember, premium solution. This also is important. In premium solution, what happens is, what this Akamai does is, it actually gives more throughput. So if the price factor is not there, please read the question properly. If the price factor is not there, and if you say that I want throughput, price is not a concern, because one of my students got a question out there saying price is not a concern. If price is not a concern and he had Verizon, I would have selected Verizon, right? And this question also comes in a different flavor, where you will find that he has the questions like this, so basically, quickly, you will see Microsoft at the top, and then you will see here Azure Firewall, and you will see front door service, and you will see load balancer. So please note, if you just see Microsoft, then choose front door service, right? So that's again one more thing to add here. So any questions? If you have any questions, you can put down on the chat. Yes, but the Verizon is also having that, but it's not there in the question. Manishankar, it is not there in the question, right? In the question, we don't see any Verizon. I'm talking about in case you see Verizon, right? Okay, so yeah. If it comes, if Verizon comes, then the question is also tailored. If Verizon comes, oh gosh, Microsoft is going to kill me. If the question comes, then this one here, Azure CDN by dynamic and cost is not there. This word is cost is not there. There's an extra sentence out there saying that cost is not the factor, performance is prime, right? So, and those things are there. The statements are a bit tailored out there. Okay. Fine. Now let us go ahead and see. Remember, guys, again, think about it. Don't think about the exam for now. Think that you use a CDN. So when you use a CDN, you must be thinking that you are still going to the nearest website, but you are not, right? You are not if you are not having dynamic site acceleration. And a lot of people will select Microsoft. A lot of people select Microsoft, because they think that this will be cheaper, right? And they don't have the front door service, and the performance drops. So the goal of this exam is to make you aware that what is Microsoft giving and what is Microsoft not giving and what is other vendors giving. So that's what the goal of the exam is. So don't think from the exam point of view. Think about the various things what I am talking about here. There are two things in Azure or any cloud service. One is the technical aspect. Another one is the cost aspect and the I'll not say political aspect, but the bundling aspect. So they give you DSA, they don't give you DSA, and so on, right? CDN can be used for both static content and dynamic content. Yes. 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 So that day somebody asked me a question here, static content. So I just waited, said that I will first come to this question and then talk about it, right? But for that you have to select dynamic. If you don't select dynamic, you will see a stale data, or you will see data which will be replicated after 10 minutes, right? Okay. So that day we talked about the edge servers, the point of presence. This is all CDN out here. Okay. Let's go to the next question, which is around Azure Cosmos. Azure Cosmos. Okay, my favorite topic as well as my favorite question here. So let us talk about it. Okay, let's look at the question first. Then I will explain you Azure Cosmos. I will talk about the answer, right? And let us see that if many people who have done Azure Cosmos out here, can you answer this question or not? Let us see that as well. So you are developing a ticket reservation application. Okay. So let me draw the diagram. I can't think about it until I don't draw the diagrams. So you have a ticket application. Now remember, because this question is around ticket reservation, there are two questions, at least from the students also I come to know, and one question of ticket reservation came to me itself. One is a ticket reservation application, like ticket reservation, stock market, right? For example, you are doing a ticket reservation out here. Let us say I am a person here in India who's trying to book a ticket. Let us say this ticket reservation application is in US. Assume it's in US. The server is in US. Let's say we have one flight ticket which is from India to US. Let's say it is some foreign airline out there, right? Let's say Virginia, right? The US Virgin airline. And let's say I'm an Indian agent out here who's trying to book that one ticket out there. There is a US agent out there as well. Now, because this US agent is very near out here, he can get this ticket very soon because he's very near. And this Indian agent who is far away, right, he will take some time until he comes and this is booked. So the problem with such kind of scenario is like stock market or ticket reservation is that you should have a fair deal. if the stock market price is shown here as 10 rupees, let's say, or $10, right, in Nasdaq, at the same time, the other Indian guy who's sitting out here and trading in Nasdaq should also see $10. If there is a latency out there in a minute or two, or in seconds also, so many things happen, right, in the stock market, right, and as well as in reservations. So what the solution out here, which they have proposed is, which I will tell you the solution, is Cosmos DB. Cosmos is actually created. Cosmos is a database, which is a planet scale database. What is a planet scale database? In a planet scale database, think about that you have a data in US, right? And what they do is they create replication of database to the nearby geography location. So for example, there will be a database of the same structure in India and must be in the same structure in Europe. So there is one write, you can have multiple writes, but there is, so when the data gets updated here, those data get replicated out to the nearby regional DB. But remember that this is not pure replication. It is also about fairness, because think about it that there is a US data which is updated. Let us say this US stock market here. Let's say there's a stock out here, $100, right? It becomes $110. A person in US sees it fast. What is the point? Because that $110 to be replicated out here will take some time, right? There will be some replication time out here. So till then the US person is only seeing $100 and he will make a bad decision. So there is a replication time here, a latency as well, which needs to be managed. So what they do in Azure Cosmos DB is that, no, there's a question here, can we use CDN? No, CDN is for websites. CDN is for web applications, right? But this is for databases, I'm saying. So here what they do is that when this $100 changes to 110, the US user also cannot see it. Locking at the level of, I'll not say locking, let us use the word consistency. Let us use the word consistency. Consistency at the level of multiple geographies. So what he will do, he will make it 110, but no one will see it. Everybody is seeing $100. He will update 110 here, he gets an answer back done. He updates 110 here, he gets back the answer done and says, okay, now everyone can see it. So here, one of the biggest thing about the Cosmos DB is, or any kind of DB which is planet scale. Remember, this all comes into planet scale databases, that everybody sees that data in the same time, or probably not in the same time, but the goal is to show the data consistently to everyone at the same time, right? So let's go back now to the question. So this is Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB is a planet scale database, right? So that was a brief explanation. Let me go ahead and talk about it. Now, what I will do is this Cosmos DB takes a lot of time to create. So what I will do is, before I go to the question out there, how about going and creating a Cosmos DB database here? Remember guys, Cosmos DB is the most costliest database. It's the most costliest software what is available there. So when you create it, please ensure that you delete it, right? So you can see Cosmos, the whole world. It is trying to manage the whole world. Create a globally distributed multi-model, right? And so on, so on. Fine. So I'm going to go and create a Cosmos DB out here. And very quickly, just for the history purpose, this Cosmos DB, if you look at this Cosmos DB out here, the SQL Server, we had this one, how do you say it? Microsoft had created one database against MongoDB. I really don't remember the name. I don't know if anybody can figure me out. There was a database created. What was that name? MongoDB came into picture, right? And Microsoft created one more database which for competing with MongoDB. I really don't remember the name. If anybody can put down the name out there. No SQL. Yeah, Microsoft NoSQL. I'll just NoSQL database. Document DB. Yeah, thank you, Raj Thakur. Thank you very much for that. I just forget names nowadays. Document DB. This Cosmos DB is actually based on Document DB. I'm sorry for my weak memory. I'm doing a lot of things out there, and I forget, right? So, so remember the base of Cosmos DB is Document DB. Document DB was one database, which is again a NoSQL database, which was created to fight against MongoDB. But MongoDB is MongoDB, right? and they created this Cosmos DB on the top of it, right? So you can see here, and the first thing out here is this Azure Cosmos you can access through a lot of ways. For example, you can use simple SQL, you can use what do you call your API, MongoDB API, you can use Cassandra, you can use GraphQL, and Azure Table as well. So you can see the same Cosmos DB, you can have different clients who can access with different API, right? So I'll just say yes, notebook is off for now, right? And enable the redundancy. I'll just talk about this later on, right? And multi-region writes. Should I enable it? I'll disable it. Multi-region writes means what? Let's say two databases are getting updated. If you have a scenario where two databases are getting updated, right, then you will use it, but I will not use it for now. I'll just say, so review and create it. I'll just let this Cosmos DB get created because it takes a bit time to create. What happened? Let's go to basic. Okay, account name, yes. I'll just put Westpond Cosmos. Right, what else? What else am I missing out here? No, don't close it. Why is the button not getting enabled? Let me see networking. Okay. Okay, create now. Okay, fine. So guys, it's getting created. Now remember the Cosmos DB takes a bit time to create, so let it happen at the background, until then, let us go back and see your question, right? So sorry for that. I went over there to create the Cosmos DB because it takes a bit time to do it. Let's go and read the case study and let us talk about it. Where is it? I'll come to all the questions later on. Okay, you are developing a ticketing application, right? So you are developing a ticketing application for a system for an airline. The storage solution of the application must meet the following requirement. The first is 99% availability. I don't know why people want this. 99% availability. Accept reservation event when localized network outages or okay, so that means that we also need a failover. Now remember that Cosmos DB is again very good for failover. If something happens in one region, the other region can pick up, right? But remember here, failovers are different things, and Cosmos DB is meant specifically for the consistency. Everybody should see at the same time. So but failures are still handled by Cosmos DB, so that is fine. That is a bonus. Process reservation in the exact sequence and avoid selling the same seat. Very important part. Avoid selling the same seat to multiple travelers, right? And allow simultaneous and out of order reservation with maximum 5 seconds. Now these 2 points out here clearly say that if you want that 2 people should not do booking, that means that your database should be nearby, latency should be minimum, and definitely it is Cosmos DB. Remember a ticket reservation, stock market, some of these like that day I saw poker game and casino, all these things are example, where people want to do it right now, and whoever comes first wins it. There should be fairness. The geographical distances should not beat that fairness, right? So that's what it is, right? So now here he says, so you need to provision this and this. So what will you do? So here is the question. First thing, when such kind of question comes in, you will see some kind of CLI code here. Don't try to validate that CLI code. That CLI code is good. For example, if you remember that AZ CLI we had previously, those codes all work. What he's more interested is that what will you select from these out here, right? So first thing, let me do the easy ones, right? Let me look at the easy ones. So if you remember here, he said you provision a resource group in Azure South Central US region. So South Central US region means South Central US region, right? Now you can see there is South Central US East or South Central US West, right? What happened? Okay. Sorry. So over here, South Central US region, a complete US region. So I'll take this one. I don't think there is something here called as just like this. So I'm not sure if if there is something like this. So that is the third one out here, because the third one, when you see the drop down, I'll show you. I don't remember if I've clicked on the drop down out there. The drop down shows East and West US, right? Both of them. Second, remember he said that I also need failovers. So definitely you have to enable automatic failover. Remember, automatic failover is not a part of Cosmos DB directly. So again, this is good, right? But here is a problem. So both of them are good, but this is a problem out here, the consistency level, right? So anyone here who has done Azure Cosmos DB or looked at the video of Azure Cosmos DB, what do you think? Strong. So why strong, Amit? I can see Amit said answer is strong. Why do you think the answer is strong? Why not eventual? Why not consistent prefix? And why not bounded staleness? No dumps. Remember, our dumps answers are wrong. To maintain the same consistency, absolutely, very good. So if you remember, right, there are 2 points out there. So let me guys explain you what is this strong, eventual, bounded staleness, and consistent prefix. Let me try to explain each one of them, right? So now what happens is, situation number one, let us take eventual. Eventual. Let's take the easy one. Eventual means what? If you have an eventual consistency, so there is a US database, right? Thank you very much, Amit. If you have read it, then you can answer this question definitely. And there is an, let me discard all this. Let me go to my main diagram. These are links at the down, guys. You can see the PPT. You can please go through the links as well. But remember, my goal here is to not, what I can do out here is I can read the question and I can give you answers. I don't want to do that. There should be logical reasoning. And remember, my answers, well, they can be 99% right, but 1% it can be wrong because I can miss some points out there, right? So please try to validate even my answers out there. Let's talk about eventual consistency first. Eventually it will happen. We see in our lives, right? Eventually that will happen. Means whenever it happens, eventually you will understand what is the meaning of life, right? So that's what here eventual consistency means, that you have a database out here, which is, let's say, US Cosmos DB, you have India, right? Now let us say somebody updates, there is a $100 record out here that gets updated to 110. There is a user out here, the user goes, nobody stops him, he goes and he sees the data and he sees $110. There is an Indian counterpart out here, he does not see 110, he sees $100. And eventually, whenever the data will update out here, eventual consistency, this guy will see $110. So that means that here it is not important for you that you want to see the data at the same time by both the user. So eventually, whenever that data happens, there will be latency, right? So this is not recommended, Amit, because this is by default. By default, there is a latency. So because the whole goal of Cosmos DB was that everybody should see at the same time, right? So this is there, but yeah, but there is a latency. I'm just saying, this can be good in some of the scenarios, definitely, but not. I think most of the scenarios like poker game and those kind of things, I don't feel that this is a good idea to have, right? This is eventual. So first thing, that eventual goes off, right? Because eventual is not needed, because these 2 points out here very clearly says it should be a proper, nobody should be able to book the same seat, right? So once sees that 2 seat is pending, he goes to book it. The other person books from US, that seat is gone. That should not happen, right? Now let's talk about the other consistency, strong consistency. Strong consistency is what, where the following thing happens: US, India, right? So first thing, let's say 100 changes to 110, right? The first thing what he will do is, let's say that if somebody comes and says at this moment, whenever the 110 changes, let's say the 110 changes at 9 a.m., assume. If he comes at 9 a.m., he doesn't know, he still sees 100. He does not see 110, because this server will now send a message to the Indian server and say, update your value to 110 first. Then he sends a message back and says, updated, and then he sees it. So now here also 110, here also 110, and both of the users of both the geographies see at the same time. There is fairness, right? So the answer is, what is that? The answer is strong consistency, right? Now there is here something called as consistent prefix. let's talk about consistent prefix, right? Consistent prefix and bounded staleness. Let me talk about bounded staleness first. It's the easy one. Bounded staleness. What bounded staleness is? Well, US, India, no problem. So 100 and 100 and 110 happens, right? Now he says that if you give a bounded staleness of 1 minute, if you give a bounded staleness of 1 minute, what it means is that this user, let us say that this data has been updated 30 seconds back. If this user comes in that 1 minute, within the 30 seconds, right, he will still see the old data. So until the data, like when the data is updated and 1 minute completes, then only everybody sees it. This is also a strong consistency. For example, if you say that, okay, the whole world gets updated at least after 2 minutes, fine. So the deal is out here. It is 110. We give that 5 minutes, let's say, of bounded staleness, saying that within 5 minutes he updates, within 5 minutes some other country gets updated, and then everybody starts seeing it, right? So bounded staleness means once the data is updated, after certain time only everyone sees it, or till then they don't see it, right? Again, out here there can be problems. For example, let us say, what if this guy takes more than 5 minutes to update? Then we don't know, that other person will see at some time, right? So this is termed as bounded staleness. The second one is consistent prefix. Consistent prefix. In consistent prefix, what happens is he says first 100 was there, then 110, let us say data was updated 112. Show them in the same sequence. It is not about showing them at the same time. It is more important that we should show them on the same sequence, right? For example, that day I saw somebody was talking about the cricket match. In the cricket match, you want to say, okay, like one ball goes and then he sees the second. So over there you say, okay, data should be updated in a certain sequence, but it is okay, like he sees this one run here happening later on and he sees the one run happening over there. Fine, we are not worried about it. We want to see them fast, but we want to see them in a particular sequence, right? That's what, the consistent prefixes, right? But for this case, specifically, the answer is strong, right? So now I can see here, let us see, oh gosh, this is taking so much time. You can see still my Azure Cosmos DB is not created. I wanted to show you certain options out there. Remember Azure Cosmos DB, why it does not get created faster? Because it's multi-region. So if you create at one place, it will try to create multiple instances, then sync them up and so on. So that's why it takes time for deployment. So you can see that it is still not deployed, right? So guys, till then, let me take the questions out here. Any questions, guys? Any queries? Okay, let me take this question and okay, so let's take this question. In case our number of DB increases, the time of the data updation will also increase, right? So very good question. First thing, the updation is done by something called as a broker. So there is a separate broker inside Cosmos DB. We will not go into that. We don't need to go into that. That broker takes care of it. But yes, if there are too many instances out there, it can be problem, But I think, what we will do is that probably you will create for every region, right? So you won't have too many instances. And remember, this handshaking between the Azure Cosmos DB happens very fast. So we don't think that it will take a minute or something. It will happen quite fast. Per row it happens. Yes, you can capture. Yes, you can. So that's why I wanted to go and show that Azure Cosmos DB out there. Yes, you can go and you can say that how many instances has to be enabled and so on. What I should have done is when the class started, I should have done this, right? My mistake. Fine, let me check this. So I wanted to show that you can enable multi-write, you can enable multi-read, you can enable the sequencing as well, saying that for this region, show this. A lot of things out there. So, so sad about this. Okay, looks like this is not good. Fine, guys. Any more questions? Must be I can look at the questions if I have a chance to show you. Or what I would really suggest is, why don't you watch the Azure Cosmos DB? I don't want you to make you wait for a long time out here. So let me see. I'll show you this video, but must be, if the Azure Cosmos DB gets created, I can show you. So in the Azure step by step, we have this Azure Cosmos DB thing out here. I need to really update this video, but this video goes very much in depth, right? And it also shows you practically how to connect via C# and so on, right? So yes, this is document DB, improvise this Cosmos DB, right? Let me go very straightforward. And I've explained all that what I've talked today, I've explained in a very graphical format here. You can see primary, bounded staleness, right? So you can go through the tutorial as well, right? But let me go and show you some screenshots out there, which you can, actually you can go and see the whole video, huh? But let me show you some. That's a mind-blowing. That's what is interesting. So you can see here, replicate data globally. You can go and you can check out and say, I want it here, I want it here, I want it here, I want in every place, right? So one of the questions which was asked out there, can we go and define? Yes. So by default, it defines 1 or 2, but then it's up to you to uncheck and mark the nearest closest one, right? And second, there is consistency also, as you can see here. This is the consistency. You can go to the consistency and specify, I want a strong consistency, or I want bounded staleness, or I want a consistent prefix, right? So I would suggest please go and watch this video out there. It's a video which will help you to understand that question as well properly, right? So guys, let me not go and focus too much on the demo now today. Go and watch the video and you will understand it. I had one question out here that someone is trying to give the exam when we will complete it. So if anybody wants to complete it, I will give you the dumps, but I'm not in a hurry to complete the class. So in the class, I can take maximum 1 or 2 questions, and you can see why 1 or 2 questions, because I try to explain very much in depth. We try to do some practical, some demos. So the goal here is not to really malign the Azure 204 goal. It is more to support it, right? So my goal here would be that I would take up the question, I will show you demos, I will talk about the nose and house of it, right? So if anybody is looking for AZ204, some kind of preparation notes, please send me a mail. I will send you separately. But I think I will take 4 or more 5 classes to complete. We have completed 10 questions. Let me tell you, everyone, we have completed 10 questions, but the coming 20 questions will take more of 4 or 5. This one, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Amit. You are liking it, but a lot of people don't like it. They like dumps, so they also have to be supported, right? Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And should I go only looking at your video? No. If you just go through my learn step-by-step videos, and if you go to take this certification, you will not pass. You will not pass. Because you can see out here, for example, look at the CDN example. In the CDN, I talked about Akamai, I talked about, that is not technological, right? It is more about the cost pricing. And think about it. Let us say, what if Microsoft also includes the dynamic into the DSA into their plan, then the question answer also changes. Are you getting me? So without the preparation of the questions, if you're going and you are just looking at only Azure practicals, you won't pass, right? Because so passing the exam is different, gaining knowledge is different, and doing practical is different. I think all of the 3 are different, right? So I'm trying to take all the 3s together and go, but only my videos won't do. Those step-by-step videos won't do. You have to sit for this class. You have to go through my notes. That will surely ensure that you will pass the 204, right? Yes. So there are 10 questions. Yes. So Mani, don't worry on that. We'll cover in the 4 or 5. Because after some time, what will happen, Mani, is that question here is that, sir, only 10 questions. See, now these 10, now like for example, I've covered Azure Cosmos DB, I've covered CDN. Next time when the CDN question comes, I will not show you the demo. So the question will move faster. So don't worry on that. The question will be completed faster because the topics will get covered, right? So what I did is I have taken a tailor out here. I did not go index wise because I know that if I go index wise, it will take a lot of time. I'm going question wise. So I'm taking a question, concepts, demo, and then answering it. So after like 15 or 20 questions, you'll find that none of these questions, all of the questions or topics have been completed. And in the last lecture, we'll cover 10, 15 questions in one go, right? So don't worry on that part. Okay, guys, it looks like, right. So yes, agree. So this deployment is not happening, guys. Thank you very much. So